From setting aside equity in your company to time spent volunteering with your team, every company can lend their valuable resources to make Colorado a better place for all. So check out our website to learn more and drop us a line to see how your company can make an impact. With all that said, it'd be impossible to run this event without some incredible friends and sponsors in the community who have helped us get to our goal of a $30,000 prize pool for this event. A special thanks to Foundry Group for their contribution this year, along with 3 incredible newcomers. The Equity Project and Dr. Nita Mosby-Tyter, a leading equity consultant here in Colorado, whose TED Talk actually just reached 1 million views on the TED website. So definitely check that out. The Rose Community Foundation, a longtime supporter of the work we do at Pledge, whose work across the community you'll hear more about later on. And Twilio, who recently joined forces with SendGrid and strengthened their commitment to supporting the communities in which they work. This year, I want to share some additional gratitude to the Anchor Point Foundation, founded by Amy Batchelor and Brad Feld, who have generously donated to our prize pool every year since we started and has made this event such a success. Next up, I want to take a minute to introduce our 3 really awesome judges. Erin Clark, you wanna lead us off?
Thank you very much, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Erin Clark, CEO and founder of Equity Solutions. And I want to say thank you to all of the sponsors, as well as all of the nonprofits that are pitching today. This is my 2nd year sort of helping out and participating in this event, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of your nonprofits thrive. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Jacqueline, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline, an investor at Foundry Group here in Boulder, and this is my first time judging this competition and attending it, so I'm really excited to see what everybody has for us today, and appreciate sponsors and everybody joining us.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Lisa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Moreno. I'm the Senior Program Officer at the Community Foundation in Boulder. This is my very first pitch type thing and my very first startup week, so I'm excited. And thank you for all the sponsors. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about these nonprofits.
Well, thank you 3 for joining us. Just like our sponsors, we could not do this without you. So next up, we'll do a little bit on what the judges will be looking for. 4 categories that we'll be looking for each nonprofit. Are they solving a critical need in the Denver metro area? Are they using an innovative strategy to do so? What's their impact on the community? Like I mentioned before, in response to COVID and calls for racial justice. And then the quality of the pitch. So the first 3 are obviously incredibly important, but this is a pitch contest, so we want to make sure that everybody is as polished as they can be and giving you a good sense of what they do. The last thing that I think is really important is how the audience gets involved. So you'll see a link on the bottom of this slide, the bit.ly link. You can click that, and we use a service called Bidder, and Bidder allows you to make donations. So on the back end, I will be able to see how many dollars and how many votes have come in relation to those dollars for each of the nonprofits. So as the judges dive into deliberation after all 5 pitches, we'll use that as just a little bit of an audience vote to see if that sways the decision in any direction. So with that, I will get off the mic here and hand it over to Makisha Booth and Sister Biz.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Makisha Booth, head business coach and founder at Sister Biz Global Network, a business accelerator for Black women entrepreneurs. Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs, but among the lowest earning and least funded. Sister Biz exists to change that. And I'm doing this work to change that reality. As a Black woman who was once a bootstrapping micro business owner with no capital, as a community leader with over 2 decades of experience in Black and Brown communities in Colorado, and as a struggling nonprofit now, ED, I truly am my customer avatar. So Sister Biz is a nonprofit that exists to empower Black women to build scalable, sellable businesses, to build wealth in the Black community, to close the racial gap in entrepreneurship, And our women start as bootstrapping solopreneurs in practice and mindset, but they complete our programs transformed. Our services include boot camps, business coaching, done-for-you services and technical assistance, access to capital through our loan fund and our COVID emergency fund. And we create a community space where women can support each other and collaborate. To date, these are some of our highlights of the work we've done. And I want to call out that we were able to raise $160,000 in COVID assistance to give out in grants and accounting services to businesses. In addition, we've raised over $500K for our Sister Biz Loan Fund. We're getting good results. We're seeing results in our businesses and getting good feedback about what's working, but we know that our model isn't sustainable or scalable right now. We want less reliance on grants and donations. We want less reliance on paid staff and a more sustainable model. While we've had success with our working clients, we've also heard repeatedly that our clients want a one-stop shop and centralized place to access resources, to collaborate, and to access our real-time support from our coaches and service providers. So we created Sister Biz Membership Portal. And we use the user-centered design approach with multiple rounds of research with current and potential clients to create something that we believe is responsive to their needs, grounded in their real-world lived experiences, and a reflection of everything that they told us that they want and that they told us works. So we uncovered in our UX process these 11 insights, but I wanted to call out one that's most important to me, which is on authenticity, number 2. We truly value that at Sister Biz, we create spaces where Black women are understood and validated and okay to show up just as they are and okay to be vulnerable on their entrepreneurial journey. This is not something that they often receive or that they can take for granted in America. So the technology that we're powering up really revolves around a centralized space where women can work together and get results. They're empowered to facilitate and lead activities, including masterminds, book studies, giving circles, leads groups. Our vetted service providers feature is another signature feature where quality service providers and purchasing of services is accessible through the portal. Access to capital for Black women is significantly less and their runway shorter in startups, so every minute and dollar counts, and they often can't find or afford vendors and consultants. So in the portal, they find vetted accounting, marketing, and admin professionals. And these service providers are also paying members who pay a service fee to be providers in our network. Matchmaker is a feature where women receive monthly suggestions to connect with other sisterpreneurs. And so your soul sister is someone who has the same industry as you, the same stage of business, the same goals. But your big sister might be a mentor that we recommend to you. Your wild card is someone who's very different than you, maybe in another country. There's a host of other core features outside of our signature features, and I want to call out rewards and badges because this is really important. Women can access free services and coaching by participating in activities and programs in the portal. All of our signature experiences are truly unique features, vetted through research and not offered by any of our competitors. This graph shows that we hope to shift our revenue model so that our primary revenue comes from sales versus grants within 5 years. Our management team includes our core team, director of operations, CFO, admin, and business coaching support. And we're also working with a firm called Blink UX, who has created our prototype that you're seeing today and will manage development of the full platform, in addition to our nonprofit board. Development costs are $200K, and we're working with investors to raise that. But today we're asking for a $10K of our $50K marketing budget, and we're also looking for design and AI support. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to questions and feedback.
Thanks, Makisha. Judges, who wants to start off with a question?
I'll jump in. Makisha, thank you so much. This is incredible work that you're doing, and clearly needed and impactful, and really awesome. And I love the name. Curious how you think about bringing this incredible network of women and really this marketplace that you have of talent, sort of like the sort of community aspect of it is really strong, but then how do you bring it to other businesses in the community that want to engage with the really impressive women in your network?
So how do I bring the services and the features in the portal, or how do I make sure that what we're doing is connected with the larger community?
So the latter question, right? So that like that marketplace of like accountants and design, like all these different things, and working with each other is super interesting. But then there's also this huge opportunity to bring that pool of talent to the broader community.
Yeah, so a couple of things. We think about the social capital aspect of our work in all of our programs. And so a lot of what we do is create this kind of really cool space where women can learn and grow, but we also make a part of all of our curriculum, like how are we out forming partnerships with like the Colorado Women's Chamber, the Denver Metro Chamber. We have partnerships with both of those chambers. We work with city and other partners to make sure that our women are attending events, networking, and building social capital in those spaces. But when they come into the portal, it's the space where they can grow and build in a safe space and really build their own business within the network, as well as then branch out. We also think the service providers are able to grow their business and practice, if you will, and get trained in our portal space, but then take the same things that they learn, the systems and everything from offering services in our portal into their mainstream business that they can use in the larger community.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Makisha. It's Lisa Moreno. My question for you is, I first of all, this is amazing, and but my question is, can you give us some sense of geographically where your members are showing up from, and what percentage of those folks are actually Colorado?
Yeah. So right now, I would say approaching 50% of our members are in Colorado. When we first started out, we were Colorado based and all of our members were there. As we grow, that's changing. One of the things that it's really important to me that we grow outside of Colorado for our Colorado members, because they're able to build connections across state lines, land contracts and other places. But right now it's about a 50-50 percentage of our paid members, and our larger community is definitely always dominating from Colorado and Denver, Colorado Springs.
Great, thanks.
Hi, Makisha.
Hi, Erin.
So I see a lot of traction that you're making with your outreach. So for this first ask of the 10K that you want to put to marketing, is that more of marketing directly to new members or more to partners, or kind of tell us what you want to do with that 10,000, at least this part of it?
Yeah, so right now we just launched our membership program in April, and we've been playing with sales funnels, which, just to be super honest, is not our expertise in our current team, and trying to figure out the formula for growing our membership from where it's at now, 171 members, to 5,000 members. And so when we get to 5,000, we know that that's somewhere a little over $1 million a year in memberships. And so we want to get there over the course of the next few years. And so our goal is to activate a paid sales funnel that broadens our reach from what we've been able to do organically.
Perfect. And then that's going to be the largest driver of your revenue. Is it monthly or annual sales that members will pay?
It's monthly or annual. And so monthly is $29 a month, and annual is $250 a month or annually. And then we also, it is the largest and it's the highest focus, but not because of the revenue as much as the ability to, those services are really passive in terms of the income. And so, yeah, that's.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we have hit the 10-minute mark, so I'm going to pass it off to our next nonprofit, Shalila Dillard with SCD Enrichment Program.
Thank you, Micah. And thank you to everyone who has joined us today. My name is Shalila Dillard. and this is SED Enrichment Program. National statistics reveal that 4% of Black students are enrolled and successfully complete advanced placement classes. Since intelligence is distributed equally in every race, this is a systemic issue with the structure of our gifted and talented advanced placement, honors, and international baccalaureate programming within schools. What we have found is that students are disengaged, reject the curriculum that is not culturally relevant in their classes, and some schools fail to embrace a wider range of values and learning because of this. We actually have more students of color taking remedial classes in higher education. And so this is one of the reasons for our program. And when we look closer to home here in Colorado, we are missing identification for giftedness between, between 53 and 61% for Black and Indigenous students, and over half of Latinx students, and a little under 50% is missing from Pacific Islander students. This hits close home to me because as the founder and executive director of SED Enrichment, my brothers and I were actually a part of that 4% that was Black students that was identified as gifted. My journey through the classes was easy because I was shy and I fit the stereotypes of what a gifted student would look like. However, for my brothers, they ended up dropping out of the advanced classes because of not feeling comfortable with being the only Black student in those courses and not having that support system. With 11 years of teaching experience, attending a historically Black college called Hampton University, and learning how brilliant our ancestors are, and my personal experiences, I decided that it wasn't enough to impact students on a classroom level and created St. Clair Drake Enrichment Program, which recruits and supports middle school and high school students of color and BIPOC students, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and advanced coursework. And it is one of the only programming of its kind in the nation. Our vision is to create a cyclical support for BIPOC college student mentors and our students through ethnic history courses, mentor program, and leadership development. When I hear the voices of our students say that they're not prepared or they want kids to look like them that is in their class, I truly understand how important this social justice work that I do is. The three areas that our program has been doing for 2 years is the school-wide cultural education programming, school programming, and professional development sessions. And those are actually the areas that we have a fee for service. And so about 49% of our profit comes from fees for service, and the rest comes from grants. Since January, with the recent racial unrest, and because of in March that we had to pivot for COVID-19, we realized that we needed to tackle head on the systemic issues that were present in the school. And so we actually added on the equity audits for gifted education and for schools in general, virtual ethnic history classes for all middle school and high school students in the nation. And we also added on an identification tool for giftedness called our multicultural nomination tool. Our program aims to enroll more BIPOC students in advanced coursework, teaches critical thinking skills that prepares them for these advanced courses, and allows our students to become cultural leaders in their school and their community to make a even bigger impact than we could even imagine. We can't do this without our amazing staff and our amazing board, and they have been able to offer resources and of course their amazing time, and we thank them so much. With your financial support today of the $10,000, we would be able to bring on 10 more college students of color to support our students, and we support them in giving them the stipend for their time as they navigate college. And this would broaden the impact to 3 more schools, serving more than 100 students this school year. To date, we have served more than 160 students in our school programming, and our new virtual class that we've added on to our package. And we have 1,500 students that we have impacted, and their teachers in those schools with our workshops and our professional developments. And we have increased identification and self-esteem for our students. So within the next 2 years, we plan on expanding to the Aurora area and more schools in the far northeast side of Denver. And we also look to validate our programming and the identification tool that we have to further expand to other states such as Texas, Arizona, Washington, and Louisiana. We are super grateful for our connections and partnerships that we have already had within the past 2 years. And we would love to, and we thank all of our partners and the community members that come in and share their stories and their heritage with our students. And our non-monetary ask is that we would love to connect with other professionals of color and college students to impact our students to be as brilliant as they are. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Shalila. Judges, we'll invite you back on, and we've got until about 3:30 for Q&A.
I'll jump in real quick. Shalila, first of all, thank you. Great presentation. I really like the representation that you have of BIPOC folks helping to support other BIPOC folks. I think you've tapped into something that's really important that a lot of folks kind of overlook, which is representation matters. My question is, I see that you want to use the 10K for getting more college mentors to help with the stipends. Is the only or the biggest challenge you have in this type of program that students of color that are at schools at the K through 12 level, is it really the stigma that they face in getting these AP classes? Is that your biggest challenge you're seeing?
It's one of very many challenges that I see. As I'm speaking about the college mentors, I have a lot of college mentors that are like, or potential college mentors of color that are like, yes, I want to do this work. Someone was there for me to do this work, but they usually have a full-time job and are going to school. So that stipend really does help with alleviating the amount of hours that they have to work in order to do this important work. And as far as the advanced placement classes, yes, a lot of students work with in a lot of schools, they don't know that college is even possible for them. And so when these college students of color come in and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, these are the study strategies that I'm using, they know that it is possible. Whereas before, that it was just like something that could happen.
Thank you very much, Shalila. Appreciate that response.
Thank you.
Hi, Shalila. This is Lisa Moreno. So if I understand this, your program puts a lot more emphasis on supporting the students, and it looks like you're starting in middle school. Is that correct?
So we support schools and students, and yes, we start in middle school, and we have programming in high school as well.
Could you is there an angle of your program, and you had I think there were 6 different things listed on the slide, and I couldn't get through all of them quickly, but could you talk a little bit about if there's one of those that focuses on holding the system accountable for getting the kids into the AP programs?
Yes, and so the way I'm very strategic on how I go into schools, and over the past 2 years, I've realized that it's not enough to just have my program in the school. You can have the greatest program in the school, but if it is on the foundation of inequality, it's not going to be as successful. So what we did is we pivoted and we offer professional development. Targeting like implicit biases and working on like how the system on like how the students are even knowing about the programming, who is allowed, quote unquote, in the program and what that looks like. And then we help actually restructure those like advanced placement classes, and then we go in and execute our school programming. And that's just on the school-based programming, but the on the very bottom part, the new services that we offer is that equity audit part, and that's where we're directly holding these schools accountable and saying, these are the areas that you need to change because the student voices is saying that this is not okay.
I'm sorry to cut off. We have time for one quick question, Jacqueline, if you have something.
Sure. How would you describe an ideal candidate for the program, probably from a school perspective? Like what does a school need to have for your program to really be a good fit and be successful?
The school just needs an advanced placement or like an honors or any of those advanced placement classes. And then they just need to be willing for change. And so there are some schools that are not willing for that. And we try to work with those schools that know the importance of recruiting and supporting more students of color, because we know that their trajectory to going to college will increase, which will decrease that the remedial classes that they need to take and make them more successful.
Awesome. And I just have to mention, I think it'll be so awesome when you have kids that go through the program and go to college and then become the mentors for the next crew. So
I actually have a college mentor right now who went through my program, and he is like the best leader I've ever seen in my life. And he's working with us right now. So I'm really excited for that.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Well, thank you, Shalila. Next up, we have Ken and Lyric.
Let's start by imagining. Imagine you're stopped by the police after you've watched the murder of George Floyd or others. You're a person of color, your heart is pumping. You are in survival mode. If you give the wrong answers, you can be charged with a crime. Even if you're innocent, the domino effect starts. You lose your freedom if you can't afford a bond. Hiring a lawyer is costly. The matter proceeds through the courts. That affects your schedule. Your absence could lead to you losing your job. An arrest damages your reputation, and you have to spend money to seal your record. Being a criminal defense attorney, I don't have to imagine that situation that leaves people in a state of hopelessness. I have defended young people for 20 years that have been stopped for no legitimate reason. Systematic problems need systematic solutions. That is why Lyric was created. Good afternoon to all you judges and entrepreneurs on Zoom. We are a startup. Our currency is knowledge and empowerment, and our product is well-being. Learn Your Right. Lyric stands for Learn Your Rights in the Community. Our teaching creates positive social change. There is a teen epidemic of lack of safety and security. Constitutional rights, human rights are being violated. Teens grow up being traumatized repeatedly by images and videos of police violence and brutality against persons of color. Lyric is rebooting those rights and improving the health of our children. Hannah Siegel Prof founded Lyric a decade ago, and in 2015, Lyric became a 501c3 nonprofit. As a juvenile defense attorney, Hannah saw teens waiving their rights, tragically. She began teaching them their rights and how to interact with law enforcement. Simple teaching of classes, pressing a lyric card into the hands of teens that contain a few basic rights, to have a lawyer, to remain silent, to have a parent present. Simple expressions like, "Am I free to leave?" are transformative. Students have sent letters to lyric teachers, thanking them, writing about how their interactions with police have changed. One letter from 16-year-old Kiko Gallegos told us how knowing his rights saved him from an arrest. We listen to our students to create curriculum based on their experiences so our content is relevant and impactful. We give a voice to the voiceless and teach real-world applications of constitutional rights. Here are the numbers. From 2016 to 2020, Lyric has increased its presence and now serves 50 high schools and also presents on 20 educational nonprofit platforms. One joint venture is the DU Lab, where University of Denver law students took Lyric classes and went out to teach 1,000 Colorado teens over the past 2 years. Lyric has now over 50 volunteer law students and attorneys in dozens of Colorado communities, teaching 10,000 students a year. We write, produce, and post educational videos, and also connect with established social justice platforms like the ACLU and Brooklyn Defenders. These videos explain how you should interact with the police, how to decline an interview. You know, one thing that really bothers me as a criminal defense attorney is when teens are asked to unlock their cell phones for police. We need teens to know their rights, and that's why these videos are free. But we have hit a ceiling. We need funding to reach more activists of color, training, social media platforms, and outreach programs. To be a balanced, healthy teenager, you have to have the tools to express yourself freely. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you will see that right above the physiological needs of air, food, and water is the physical need of personal safety. Above that is a sense of community, connection, and belonging. This is the intangible benefit that comes with educating teens about their rights. Since the recent wave of civil unrest, our website visits have increased, and we've responded by expanding our online presence, teaching more classes, and we're producing a video about knowing your rights when protesting. We aren't just online though. During the recent protests, volunteers handed out lyric cards to inform protesters about their rights. We need the grant money to make us bigger, better, and more impactful. We could contract with a program manager to engage with new school districts. We can expand our innovative educational video bank. We can reach more teens that are crying out for equality. 10 million teens are stopped each year in this country. Any encounter with the police, especially for Black, Brown, and Indigenous youth, can have life-altering consequences. And the Lyric platform is here to change that. So let's end where we began, imagining. Imagine that our youth can assert their rights, have their voices heard, and return home safely. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Judges?
Thank you, Ken. I'll jump in while Jacqueline and Lisa are getting on. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the presentation. Two-part question. With the prize money, tell me some exact things that you'll use it for, and how is this impact going to be had in the state of Colorado?
Well, we have a lot of volunteers, and there's a lot of work that is done, and we just can't seem to, we don't have any funding to pay people. With grant money, we can reach other schools and school districts. We just started just making inroads in like Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, and other areas. The more money we have, the more we can expand. Additionally, in terms of innovation, we want kids to be able to just tap their phone on the Lyric website, get their and understand their rights. Those videos cost money to have a videographer. That's another example. Also, we would like eventually to have an executive director. Many of the people volunteering are people like myself who have a full-time criminal defense docket. So that's also on the horizon to get an executive director. Also, we'd like to be able to not only reach out to other platforms, but perhaps the Office of Independent Monitor. Some of these police forces already have a monitorship in place. And we want to keep expanding our teaching activities and also present more on social media. I'm sorry for rambling. I hope that answers some of it.
You did. Thank you very much, Ken. Really appreciate it.
Hi, Ken. Jacqueline here, former lawyer. Curious how you think about so this is part of the problem, but you can know your rights all day, and bad police are going to still do bad things. So how do you think about bringing police forces into what you're trying to do? Maybe even bringing police forces into these classrooms, right? And so and having more engagement, because they have a lot of learning to do too.
Absolutely. That's why I mentioned the independent monitorships. Change, unfortunately, to correct, there's not much we can do about the integrity of our public officials, except as a lawyer, these plaintiffs' lawsuits are devastating. A lot of the criminal defense lawyers also practice civil rights, and some of the settlements not only include money, but an agreement to change policy. I also like the idea when we're teaching kids to safely interact with the police, as you said, maybe even have a liaison or representative or a police captain in there as well to diffuse a lot of these situations, especially in Colorado since the death of Elijah McClain. I mean, it's been devastating, and we've been responding to a very critical need to help the protesters and also to spread this knowledge so other people don't suffer the trauma of these arrests.
Great, thank you. I could see, at least at CU, the criminal defense clinic with law students, being great volunteers for this.
I
Time
can.
for one last quick one, Lisa.
Can you tell me what percentage of your volunteers are people of color?
I can't give you that statistic. I'm so sorry. I just don't know that. Hannah, the founder, might, but I understand that we are trying to recruit as many people of color as possible. It is our goal to make sure the executive director is BIPOC or minority, and that's something we definitely want to expand on.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Next up, we have Mary Putman and the Reciprocity Collective. Take it away, Mary.
Okay. Hold on a minute. Ready? Homelessness and poverty are humanity's greatest challenges. Yet we're not having conversations with the experts about solutions. We have scholars, sociologists, cultural anthropologists, and politicians telling us their ideas to end poverty and homelessness. But who's missing? Who is not at the table? Whose voice is not only not being heard, but not even invited to the discussion? The persons who have experienced chronic poverty and homelessness, that's who, the experts. I'm Mary Putman, and in 2016, I founded a nonprofit organization called the Reciprocity Collective. Grounded in our belief that every human has value and deserves respect, we give space in the community to amplify voices from marginalized populations to drive both individual and cultural change through advocacy, support, and empowerment. We listen to the voices of the experts. In 2010, after over 30 years as an entrepreneur, I accepted a position with a large homeless services provider here in Denver. It introduced me to the complexity in the whys and hows of homelessness and in the beauty and humanity of the people affected by it. And it profoundly changed my life. It also fully activated my problem-solving, gap-addressing entrepreneurial brain, resulting in the creation of the Reciprocity Collective, founded to work deeply, differently, and efficiently towards solutions to homelessness and poverty. When I started TRC, some things made no sense to me. Lack of collaboration, linear solutions to a non-linear challenge, and the lack of customer service. In the business world, the customer is the expert. They drive the products and solutions. I was struck at how rarely anyone asked a person experiencing homelessness what they thought they needed, what strategies they thought would work for them. The Reciprocity Collective asks, and we live the promise of our name as we have developed a robust and diverse network of nonprofits, community organizations, businesses, and volunteers to offer resources and opportunities to our participants. At the center of this collective is our expert, our customer, our participant connected through TRC to what they have expressed as their hopes and needs. Beyond being participant-centered and using collaboration and connection to enact effective and efficient service delivery, TRC is nimble and flexible with minimal infrastructure. We have no office. Our staff and interns move around the community, meeting participants where they are, at a day shelter, a library, sitting on a sidewalk. As we evolve and respond to what we hear is needed, so grows our collective of organizations and services we partner with. What does that look like? Over 50 nonprofit organizations and businesses, and a cadre of community mentors and volunteers. In 2019, TRC served 139 individuals, found sustainable employment for 115 of them, and connected everyone with resources like housing, mental health, recovery programs, and basic needs of food and clothing, all at a cost of less than $800 per participant. Mid-March in COVID, our standard activities stopped. Partner agencies, community spaces, and businesses shut their doors. And we immediately recognized these closures left out unhoused individuals, ending access to essential information and services to our most vulnerable population. We responded quickly and established a street outreach team in late March, hiring unhoused individuals as team members. They donned PPE and they hit the streets, handing out flyers about COVID-19 and community resources. They walked with water, snacks, PPE, hygiene items, and conversation, meeting over 2,500 unhoused individuals in April and May, asking them, how are you doing? What do you need? What are you afraid of? In May, based on what we heard from our street team, table outreach was formed. Then and now, TRC staff sits outside of our closed community partners with laptops and cell phones. In COVID, these devices are lifelines, and through them, we help people connect to multiple needs like IRS stimulus monies, food stamps, lost IDs, and Social Security cards. We have met over 500 individuals through table outreach, with over 70% returning for ongoing supports and resources. Most of us don't realize this small handheld electronic is literally a life-altering device for someone experiencing homelessness. Think about it. No cell phone. You don't have access to even the most basic of services, support, and even safety. Forming an alliance with T-Mobile, we've set a goal of distributing 500 cell phones with service in the unhoused community, connecting them to us, to their families and friends, and to what they need. 100 down, 400 to go. The Reciprocity Collective is a startup, and we use our resources sparingly, and we multiply them with collaboration to serve our community as expansively as possible. A monetary investment in TRC goes further because our approach goes deeper. And with your help, we can help spread that impact wider, reaching even more individuals in need in our community. What we ask of you is to live in connection. Greater than the Reciprocity Collective is how we show up in our communities, how we listen to and value each other, share our resources and spaces, how we work together to develop solutions for the daunting challenges of our time. And remember, when you're looking for solutions, talk to the experts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Judges, questions?
Thank you, Mary. This is amazing. I love anybody that's trying to end poverty and homelessness. And I think there's just such a human element to what you're doing in making people feel like they're seen. So thank you for the work. Talk about a little bit about sort of use of funds and how you're thinking about, the next phase of this.
I'll be blunt in that, COVID has really stretched our resources very thin. We are only we've started our 5th year, and we were at a point where we were poised to continue kind of regular operations with funding, which is predominantly received from private foundations. COVID has really stretched our team and our ability to, as we've stepped up to the plate. And so our expenses are up. And so we're looking to stabilize ourselves, but to continue the work. We're not in recovery yet. I was asked that by a funder the other day. And she's like, well, what are you doing in recovery? We're like, it's not recovery yet. What we see in front of us is a tsunami of evictions, increasing in homelessness, and fewer resources available to them. And so we're trying to prepare ourselves and our staff and our volunteers to be able to withstand that and come out at the other end still serving people well.
Thanks.
Two more minutes if you guys have any questions.
It looks like that from the photos that your services are Denver centric. Is that the case?
We are right now, the street outreach and the table outreach is Denver centric, but generally our services are the 5-county Denver metro region though.
Okay.
Jefferson, Douglas, Arapahoe, Adams, Denver.
And your overall budget and staff is?
We have 1 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff, and we always have 3 interns, usually 2 bachelor's interns and 1 graduate. Our budget is less than $200,000 per year.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. Wonderful job. You're tackling an area of folks that have normally been forgotten, especially during something like COVID. One quick question. On your site, you have an impressive list of sponsors and partners that you're working with, very diverse, that's phenomenal. Has the giving been down for this year since COVID's hit?
The giving, we've definitely seen that in terms of our individual giving is less than what we had expected. And the other piece that has really dramatically affected our participants is the fact that people aren't hiring. We sit pretty strongly in the employment space. We do a lot of job coaching and development of soft skills. And as you notice, a lot of those partners are businesses and they hire our folks as we support them. And so it's been just really challenging, not only for us, but for our folks, because helping them find work is challenging in this climate.
Thank you very much for that response.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, everybody.
Thank you, Mary. And last but certainly not least, we have Ellie Adelman with the Village Institute. Ellie, take it away.
Just get my screen up. Okay, are you all able to see that?
Yep, looks great.
All right. Well, good afternoon. I'm Ellie Adelman, founder and director of the Village Institute, a live, learn, work center for refugee women and their families. At the Village Institute, we know that refugee women, especially refugee single moms, are some of the most entrepreneurial people on the planet. Many of you know from starting your own companies that entrepreneurship is all about seeing a problem, an obstacle, and finding a creative solution. Refugee women do that all day. The thing is, refugee women just face so many obstacles. Take, for example, Thun, Now, that's not her real name. This is also not her real picture because confidentiality, but she was one of our very first clients at the Village Institute. After Thun moved to Colorado from Burma as a teenager, she went into foster care, married young, and had a beautiful, sweet boy we'll call David, who she's now raising all on her own. She has had to be so resourceful, smart, and hardworking just to get by. She even got certified as a nursing assistant to be able to care for her son's special needs. Who wouldn't want a woman like that on their team? Who wouldn't want to invest in a woman like Thun? And yet the only job she could find last year was in a kitchen at Wendy's until she was laid off due to COVID. It was for the several hundred smart, hardworking women like Thun who arrive in Colorado every year that we set out to find a way to make life just a little bit easier so they could channel all that entrepreneurial spirit into something greater. We brought together some of the brightest people we know, including refugee women, to design the Live, Learn, Work Center we operate today, where we can provide housing, language classes, childcare, mental health services, and on-the-job training opportunities all under one roof, and all in Northwest Aurora, the heart of refugee life in Colorado. Our model meets women like Thun where they are. We start from basic needs, recognizing that people need a stable place to live before they can move on to a thriving career or business. Then they get on-the-job training, like Thun will as a teacher in our childcare program. And then they get support to either start their own business or launch a new career. We want to set refugee women up for success so they can continue to support our growing community of warrior women. Now, not only is our program impactful, it's also financially sustainable. With the revenue we bring in through affordable rent from our housing program and event space rentals to local community members, we can cover the entire cost of our lease. That way, revenue from on-site businesses like our multicultural childcare center open to any family in the Aurora area can help solidify the financial future of our organization. We've found that diversifying our revenue in this way and operating what are now being called essential businesses has helped us stay nimble and weather a storm like none of us have ever seen. Amidst this global pandemic, we signed our lease and finished up renovations, and were able to fill 100% of the spots in our housing program virtually overnight. And we've already seen enormous demand for our childcare program opening in October. I mean, who's not ready to get their kids out of the house by now? Now, I want you to think about that trajectory for just a moment. This time last year, we had a bunch of sticky notes on a wall. Just 1 year later, we've gone on to build an outstanding team and advisory board, secured a building, furnished it with donations, launched and filled our housing program, brought in over $100,000 in funding, and formed a real estate investment group to secure the Village Institute's home for years to come. And we're just getting started. How have we been so successful so quickly? Well, this is an organization by and for powerful women. Our diverse leadership team brings experience as designers, educators, mental health providers, social entrepreneurs, financial planners, and immigrant and refugee leaders. We've also had the support of some incredible community partners, giving us both the funding and the community connections we need to continue to grow. So how can you join our circle of supporters? Well, we have a number of sponsorship opportunities for companies or individuals to support specific areas of our programming and operations. $1,000 can sponsor a family in our housing program for a month, or help us make sanitation upgrades to keep our community safe. $5,000 can help us upgrade our indoor-outdoor space for socially distanced events, or provide sewing equipment for our artisan training program. Look out for our fashionable masks coming out soon. And $10,000 can build a computer lab for students navigating online learning for the first time, or sponsor a financial literacy or job readiness class for refugee women. And for $1 million, you could just buy us our building. So whether it's $10, $1,000, or $1 million, come invest in us so we can continue investing in the power of refugee women. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Judges, last round of Q&A.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick on this one. Ellie, wow, wonderful. Saw a lot of little things that I like in there that I'll probably talk to you about later. But real quick, with this use of funds, what are you going to use this first $10,000-ish for?
I mean, right now we're really looking at some of the programs that help our families pivot for COVID. And so one of the things we're really trying to do is to build out a computer lab so that we can have both youth and adult learners who are navigating online learning right now. We're just in the midst of launching a program where we can bring volunteer tutors and teachers from the community to help refugee students navigate online learning, and their parents kind of learn how to navigate that virtual classroom system. So that's really where we're focused right now. Of course, there are always financial needs, so anything beyond that we'll put into probably our housing program.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellie.
Hi, Ellie. Lisa Moreno here. How many people can you house? How many families can you house? Or maybe it would better say how many units do you have, and how long can people stay?
So right now we only have 4 units available to families, and we operate a really intensive housing program where families stay for 1 year and are a part of a cohort where they can access all of those same services that other women in our programs can also access, but more in a cohort model so that they're kind of living, learning, working together. We are currently working with an investor to try to expand our housing program because we get inquiries almost weekly for families that need that housing in that community. So we're looking at trying to expand to another 10 to 12 apartment units within the next year or 2.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Ellie. I'm curious about sort of as these refugee women go through the program, do they then become sort of community members that then help sort of new refugees that come into the program or that are sort of coming to town?
Yeah, that's the idea. We launched our housing program in May. So that was our first program. We're just launching our childcare and early childhood learning program next month. And so the idea absolutely is that women who go through our program then become staff, mentors, interpreters. We're planning to hire directly out of that program. And the beautiful thing about that is that kind of as our organization grows and our programming expands, that we already have those women who've gone through the program. So it has this kind of like ripple effect or exponential growth effect.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Got time for one more question if anybody has one. Otherwise, we will wrap up.
I have one quick one. Given the recent reductions in new refugees coming in, how do you see that impacting your program?
I honestly don't see it impacting our program a whole lot. We actually work mostly with women who've been here between 1 and 5 years. We've got a couple of people who've been a part of our job readiness programs who've been here for a decade. Single mom families in particular have been slipping through the cracks of the refugee resettlement system for years. And so I talk to women all the time who've been here for years and are still having trouble accessing resources and expanding their job opportunities. And so, there are, I think, 100,000 immigrant and refugee families in Colorado. So, we'll continue to serve those families who are already here. And the refugee resettlement numbers always go up and down depending on the administration. And so it'll go back up kind of just in time, I think, for us to have an expanded enough program to be able to accept those newly arrived refugees as well. And we will have trained staff who have gone through our programs to be able to meet the needs of more newly arrived refugees that have more intensive needs. Mm-hmm. Thanks for that question.
Thank you, Ellie, and thank you, judges. I just want to give a quick shout out. Normally we have about 6 to 8 weeks to turn this event around, and this time we only had 4, which meant that these amazing nonprofit leaders only really had about a week and a half to put these pitches together. So for those that are watching, oh, somebody wants me to turn on my video. Just give a quick round of applause for these folks because they did an amazing job in such a short amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and step away with the judges and hand it over to my co-host Micah for the rest of the programming. And in about 15-20 minutes, we will be back to announce the winners. So with that, enjoy.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks to everyone who pitched. Again, amazing job. I do not envy the job of the judges right now to go try to pick a winner out of that group. Just as a reminder, these are the judging criteria that our judges are now going to go talk through. And here we've seen a bunch of folks have already donated. Every single vote counts for as little as $1. So if there is an organization or several organizations you want to support, show them some love. bit.ly DSW NP vote. We'll bring you up to that page. You just have to select the nonprofit and plug in a little bit of information to get that going. So real quick, we do this every year. We hear from the winner from the previous nonprofit pitch contest. So I'm thrilled to have Isabel McDevitt here from Bridge House, our winner last year, to give us a little bit of a pitch update of what you've been up to the past year, really about a year and a half now, and the impact that you've been able to create, and hopefully the grant and prize money from last year played a small part in that. So I see on the screen, Isabel, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Micah. I'm just going to share my screen here. Well, first of all, congratulations to all of the participants today. It was really impressive to hear from all of you, and thank you for all the great work. I'm Isabel McDevitt, and I'm with Bridge House, and we're a nonprofit in Boulder, and we take an innovative approach to addressing homelessness. We employ social enterprise and employment as a stepping stone for folks experiencing homelessness to get back to work and then back into the mainstream. And one of our core businesses is called Community Table Kitchen. Located in Boulder, we have a threefold mission. We provide about 200,000 meals a year to folks experiencing hunger, and at the same time create jobs and job training for people who are transitioning out of homelessness, who are part of our Ready to Work program, which combines employment, housing, and supportive services with jobs and jobs training. And then third, with our social enterprises, Community Table Kitchen, as well as our outdoor landscaping business, we generate revenue to sustain our operations. So last year, when we came to the pitch contest, we were talking about Community Table Kitchen. And at the time, we had really three lines of business: catering for corporate events and other nonprofits, where we were a caterer and providing great quality food, as well as job training for our trainees in the business, generating about $250,000 a year. We also run cafes. We have a cafe at Boulder Community Health, and we run a cafe at Naropa University. And where we really came to the Pledge 1% contest was we wanted to expand our retail products. We already had partners with a company called Danconia's Brownies that has actually become our business more recently, to produce brownies that we sell via the internet. And with the Pledge 1% project, we wanted to grow a take and bake business, meaning we wanted to be able to produce meals that we could sell in the community and create jobs and revenue at the same time to fulfill our mission. So we were very fortunate to win last year, and we got a grant of $10,000. And with that, we were able to build a new website for the take and bake business. We were able to improve our ordering function and grow our marketing efforts. And the timing was very, very good because, as everyone knows, since COVID has hit, the food service industry has been decimated. We employ 8 graduates of our program full-time as permanent employees who have transitioned out of homelessness. And then we at any given time have about 12 trainees who are in our program. And the last thing we wanted to do was to lay them off, of course. So because of the grant from the pledge contest and Pitch 1%, we had already begun our take and bake business. And it was fundamental for us to pivot with COVID-19 to go from being a catering operation in person, as well as a cafe operation, and to be able to serve and meals online and sell meals online. And without having set up that infrastructure, we would have had a really, really hard time. So with COVID, we have pivoted on our business plan. We've produced an additional almost 40,000 meals for people experiencing hunger. We have expanded all of our core services. But most importantly, we have been able to double our take and bake business. And again, thanks to this grant, we had built the infrastructure to have that in place. So, we are really, really grateful. We also want to share some of the love. So I'm going to quickly take you to our webpage. You can access this webpage going to communitytablekitchen.org. This is our ordering website, and you can buy our truffle brownies, our take and bake meals. All of these proceeds go to support our efforts. And with the code Denver, you will get 15% off. But again, thank you so much to Pledge 1%. Thank you for making us part of your efforts. And we, as a result, have been able to grow our business, to keep people employed and help them transition out of homelessness. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. You guys have been up to a lot the past year plus. It's really amazing to see the impact. I posted in chat too that if we were in person this year, we were planning that we were going to have Community Table Kitchen cater the event. So I'm glad you provided a way for folks to still engage. And I think I'm definitely going to take advantage of some of the online ordering.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And again, congratulations to all of the contestants today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I'm going to turn it over for our next programming here while the judges are off deliberating. Lindy, you want to come back online here? So Lindy Eichenbaum-Lent is the CEO of Rose Community Foundation. And in addition to being a fiscal sponsor for the Pledge 1% Colorado program, they've also generously donated $5,000 to tonight's nonprofit prize pool. Lindy took over the role as CEO of Rose Foundation in 2017 and has helped lead them through a brand new strategic plan the past few years. You can learn more on their website at rcfdenver.org. I'll post that in chat here too. Lindy, I'm really thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Micah. This was a fantastic program.
And there's still more to come. We got the winner to be announced, and hopefully a fun conversation with the two of us. So you and Rose are one of the fiscal sponsors for Pledge 1% program in Colorado and also a partner for tonight. Can you tell us a little bit more about Rose and what the role of a community foundation is for those who may not be familiar with the model?
Absolutely. So everyone's familiar, I think, with the concept of a foundation, a charitable organization that puts money out into the community, whether that is in the form of grants or charitable investments. What makes a community foundation different is that we're not just putting our own endowed assets into the community, we're also a vehicle through which community members can support the regions in which they live. So we work to really catalyze and inspire philanthropy as well. We engage our donors. They support various initiatives and issues through us. We create pooled funds, whether around racial justice or COVID-19 response, that donors can really leverage their dollars by supporting that, and then we deploy those into the community through our strategic grant making. We also house charitable funds for individuals, donor advised funds, or for nonprofits, their endowments. So we really work to grow the amount of philanthropy that is in the community. And we pride ourselves on really building deep relationships, understanding what the issues and opportunities are in our region, understanding what organizations like those you saw today are out there, what they're doing, what they need, and how we can align those organizations and the needs they're serving with charitable dollars and passions that are in the community.
Thanks, Lindy. And I was poking around your website. You all do an amazing annual report every year, so I'll go ahead and post that as well. Any comments on the annual report or how that's evolved?
Well, I hope members of my communications team are on, because they do a fantastic job. The branding has evolved significantly over the past 3 years. And really, as our work has evolved with the new strategic plan, that too is reflected in the structure and approach and content of the annual report. So we're quite proud of it. I'm delighted you spent time with it, and certainly encourage people, because we're a multifaceted organization, and but all of the parts add up to something really tremendous. And I think the annual report showcases that.
Yeah, you and the Boulder Community Foundation as well. They do their trends report, and it's always just kind of interesting to see all the data you collect.
Absolutely, and that's another unique characteristic of community foundations, is that we have to be transparent. We are part of the community, and so all community foundations, like many nonprofits, produce annual reports, both to inform but also to be transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to save this question for last, but I think a lot of folks think of getting involved with a foundation. You have to be, a very wealthy individual. You have to have a huge company exit and go create, a multi-generational, foundation. For a lot of, I think, just average folks, how can they get involved with the foundation? Maybe they don't have a lot of money to give today, and some tech leaders on our call as well that want to be more involved in the community and philanthropy. What are your thoughts there?
Absolutely. Well, we would tell people, don't bother opening a family foundation. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of administration. Open a donor advised fund at a community foundation like Rose. We do all the back of house work for you. And you still have that experience of growing your assets, investing your charitable assets, letting them grow, and then strategically deploying them with all the support that you might want from the expertise in the community foundation. So we do donor advised funds for individuals, for multi-generational families, and even for businesses who want to have a corporate philanthropic pool. And the really great thing about donor advised funds, particularly for a startup, where the revenue stream might not be constant. Let's say you have an event that's revenue generating. You can put that money into a donor advised fund, realize the tax benefits right then and there, and then deploy it out over time. So you could sustain your community presence, your charitable presence, even in times where maybe your revenues aren't what you would ideally want them to be. So donor advised funds are a fantastic vehicle. And doing them with community foundations like Rose gives you access to organizations like you saw today, to knowledge of the community. But we also host things like pooled funds. So right now we have a pooled fund for racial justice and a pooled fund for COVID response. So no matter what your dollar amount is that you have to give, you know that it will be leveraged with other donations, and we will deploy it into the community. So that's another way to really leverage your philanthropy, no matter what amount it is you have to give.
Yeah, and a fun anecdote. My long-term partner and I finally got married last year, and we actually chose to open up a DAF in lieu of gifts. And so for us, we had a house, we had stuff, we didn't need more things. And so being able to take that pool that would otherwise just be material things that we didn't need and put it into a DAF has now allowed us to, whereas other places we wouldn't be able to, maybe give as much as we'd like, that money is sitting there and it's allocated for specific reasons. And so, if there's other folks, I encourage you to get creative and think about that as well.
Absolutely.
So this whole pitch, all the nonprofits were, telling us how they've been reacting the past 6 months in their individual organization nonprofit world. We know a bunch of things have changed. How have the past 6 months changed your strategy or initiatives? And has it deeply changed what you're doing besides, maybe some new pooled funds? Again, besides spending a lot more time on Zoom, which I know is the big change for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned in the intro, we recently completed a new strategic plan. In fact, we unveiled it in January of 2020. And that included a new mission. We are working to advance inclusive, engaged, and equitable Greater Denver communities through values-driven philanthropy. And we're really working to cultivate a thriving region that is strengthened by its diversity and generosity. There were a lot of structural changes that came with this strategic plan, and we have accelerated, quite frankly, its implementation because of the cards that 2020 has dealt. In some respects, we've built the plane while we're flying it, but we use the strategic plan and our emphasis on equity and justice and inclusion as the frameworks as we pivoted all of our grant making to COVID response, multi-phase, equity-driven, as well as a forthcoming round of racial justice grant making. So the strategic plan was really the blueprint, even though none of us expected a 2020 like we've had. But in many ways, it has enabled us to lean in faster and further than we might have been in a normal year. So we feel really good about the learning and listening we have done. Organizations have been very generous with us with their time and their expertise because we really want to be informed by community. And we're really proud of the dollars we've been able to deploy, the dollars our donors have contributed, and our board recently allowed us to go into our corpus so we can do even more. Because that is what 2020 demands of all of us.
That's really awesome to hear about all that you have spun up. I think I resonated with the idea of community-led growth. I think a lot of tech leaders on the call, product-led growth, leading with what you're building as far as the value. But if you're building for the community, making them a part of the process, doing the listening and learning that you've done, I think is so critical to having the impact, making sure your intentions match the impact you're going to have. And just flagging any tech leaders on this call or folks that think that nonprofits and foundations aren't nimble and innovating like crazy. It's really great to hear what Rose has been doing. So kind of in that vein, we just saw 5 nonprofits that are innovating in various ways in different communities. What are you seeing broadly in the nonprofit sector the past 6 months? We know small businesses are closing at record rates, but kind of what about the nonprofits and how they're funding, or they can't do their in-person gala fundraisers, on kind of a macro level? What are your thoughts and what are you seeing?
Absolutely. We've seen a large number of nonprofits have to pivot to virtual service delivery, right? Whether in the health space, the mental health space, the education space, honestly, quite frankly, any space has had to pivot to virtual service delivery, which has required, quite frankly, technology investments and expertise that some had, some didn't. Many have had to raise dollars in order to implement. But I think like all of us, we're learning, right? And even we're finding silver linings. So it will be interesting to see when COVID is in the rearview mirror, are there aspects of virtual service delivery that continue, that ended up being a value add to nonprofits' work and business model. We've seen a lot of nonprofits pivot into spaces they weren't before. So food access and food security has been and continues to be a tremendous challenge during this pandemic. And we see a lot of nonprofits entering that space because their clients, their communities, it was a prominent need. And so that's been interesting to watch, and really an important indicator of the challenges that are ongoing in our community. And as you noted, nonprofits' revenue streams have been compromised, whether their programs have been canceled, or their rental income has been eliminated, or their events have had to transition into virtual. So making up for those revenue streams is a challenge. And much like the small business sector, we anticipate tremendous long-term disruption from this. And so we are looking to how can we create tools to help sustain the ecosystem.
Wow, thank you. And I'm told our judges will be back on in just a minute to come announce. Ending on a high note, is there something or things you're really excited about in the coming months leading towards the end of the year? Are there things, kind of giving you and Rose hope amidst, all the craziness going on in our world?
I think our region is tremendously resilient. And you see that in anecdotes and stories, whether it's on the news or online or in your own workplace. And I have to believe that resiliency will get us through this. And what's really exciting is people aren't talking about getting back to normal because they realize normal wasn't good for everybody. They're talking about building a new and more equitable normal. And the fact that that's where the dialogue is going, I think should give us all tremendous hope.
That's a perfect answer for a tough, question these days. Well, I think Erin was hopping back on with our other judges. Quick shout out, just a big thanks to all of our nonprofits that pitched. They did an amazing job. They had a very short amount of time to turn around and give the pitches you saw tonight. So I'll give them a virtual round of applause here. Also, our event sponsors, Anchor Point Foundation, who supported this from our first year, the Boulder Community Foundation, Rose Community Foundation, Dr. Anita Bosby Tyler and the Equity Project, Twilio and my company Foundry Group. We couldn't do this without all of them, and this is really one of my favorite events every year that I look forward to. So Erin and gang just were deliberating, had a tough decision. So I think Erin is gonna announce the winner and runner-ups in the allocation. So Erin, take us away.
Thank you very much, Micah. And also want to thank all of those sponsors. I have personal affiliation to many of them, especially Twilio. I'm a Twilio champion, friends of the Twilio team. So I want to thank them for supporting this organization as well. Well, we just had a really, really hard time because every single one of these nonprofits are absolutely amazing. The pitchers were wonderful. We don't care about the presentation. We care about the impact that you all have for this community, and we all give you 5 stars for your impact. But just because Micah and Matt forced us to make some hard decisions, we went ahead and did that. So I'm going to start from 5 on the way up. And this year for the 2020 Nonprofit Pitch Competition, and coming in number 5 with $2,000, we are awarding Lyric. At number 4 with $4,000, the Reciprocity Project. At number 3 with $6,500, we're awarding to SCD Enrichment Program. And number 2 with $7,500, the Village Institute. And coming in number 1, our champion for this year with $10,000, Sista Biz. Once again, thank you all for your presentations, your pitches. We look forward to helping you support the people that you serve here in the Denver metro area.
If we were in person, we'd hear a crowd erupting, streamers and balloons flying. Again, thank you, Erin. Thank you, judges, Lindy, Isabel from last year, Matt and Pledge 1% for making this all possible. So Matt, I'll hand it off for any parting words. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining us.
Not much left to say here. This was another really amazing event. So a quick hat tip to our sponsors for this event, the nonprofits you pitched. You're all doing incredible work. So I'm glad that we got to showcase you during this event. And for those folks who want to tune in later this evening, it looks like Makisha will be pitching in the semi-finalist round for the Denver Startup Week broader pitch competition. Which is a really cool thing that they were able to offer to this group. So in a rare form, we're going to end right on time. So thank you all for joining, and we really appreciate the support. So we will see you next year. Take care.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone. And I threw a link in for Makisha's pitch if you want to tune in about 6 o'clock this evening. So